Many years ago, in a city called Okigwe, there lived a young lady named Chidera. Chidera was a very beautiful lady. She was a hairdresser but had gotten married to Emeka, who was a banker in one of the top banks in Nigeria. Chidera had grown up in the same house as Emeka, as her mother, who was fondly called Auntie Anda, had been a living maid to Emeka's parents. She and Emeka were in the same age range, so they had spent a lot of time together while growing up. And it was during that time that they had become secret lovers. However, after their secondary school education, whereas Emeka was sent abroad for his university education, Chidera's mother, Auntie Anda, could not even afford to send Chidera to a federal university in Nigeria. Chidera was so devastated, so she had to learn hairdressing instead. Chidera had given up all hope on Emeka, even though they constantly kept in touch over the phone. Chidera felt that Emeka would meet other ladies that were more beautiful, sophisticated, and educated than her, and would likely end up marrying any of them. Chidera was sure that there was no way Emeka would come back for her, and even if he did, she was sure that his mother was never going to allow her son marry their maid's daughter. So Chidera carried on with her life with no hopes of ever getting married to Emeka. She concluded that she could only just be friends with him. Emeka, on the other hand, really loved Chidera. He had loved her since he was a child and would sneak out to play with Chidera despite his mother's disapproval. Emeka knew right from when they were little that he was going to marry Chidera. So a few years later, Chidera was in her shop making her customers' hair when a tall, handsome man walked in. She was surprised to see who it was. It was Emeka, her childhood sweetheart. She immediately screamed and ran into his arms, laughing and hugging him tightly. "When did you come back? Why didn't you call me? How long have you been around?" Chidera asked all at once, sounding very excited. "Which of these questions do you want me to answer first? Emeka replied, laughing. And so, Emeka and Chidera began to spend quality time together. They were both in love, and in a few weeks' time, Emeka had even asked Chidera to marry him, saying, "Chidera, I have known you since we were children, and if there's something I have always known, it's the fact that I want to spend the rest of my life with you," Emeka said lovingly. Chidera was so happy. "Emeka, you know I want the same thing too. But you and I know that your parents, especially your mom, will never allow you marry the daughter of a mermaid," Chidera said sadly. "Don't say that. My future mother-in-law is not a mermaid. Your mother literally raised me. She was more of a mother to me than my own mother. My mother was never around. She was always traveling round the globe. Anyway, let me worry about my mother. But tell me, my love, if my mother was not an issue, would you want to marry me?" Emeka asked, sounding desperate. "Of course, I will marry you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you as well," Chidera replied. Emeka was so happy, and they now even began to spend more time together. One day, Emeka walked up to his mother, Madam Ezine, and said, "Mom, there's something I would love to discuss with you." Emeka said, sounding very serious. "What is it, my son? Please tell me. I am all ears." Madam Ezine replied, "Mom, I'm in love with Chidera and I want to get married to her. Please, Mom, I know you may have some reservations about her, but Chidera is a really good person. If you get to know her better." Emeka said, Wait. Which Chidera? Is not the daughter of our maid? Are you joking with me right now? For crying out loud, Emeka, you're not on the same class with that girl. Whether it's economically, socially, you are not in the same level now. Haba, she's the daughter of a mermaid. No man or woman should ever marry down. You have to always marry your class to avoid a lot of problems in the future. My son, I know what I'm talking about. I have walked on this earth for several years and I have seen things. It never ends well. She will always feel inferior to you, and when she feels inferior, she will always want power. Please, my son, marry someone on the same level as you. If you're finding it difficult to find a good woman in your socioeconomic class, just say the word and I'll get 10 good women for you. And you have so many to choose from, Madam Ezine said, looking worried. But all her pleas fell on deaf ears. Emeka insisted that he was going to get married to Chidera. A few weeks later, Madam Ezine called Chidera and her mother, Auntie Anda, and offered them a huge amount of money to leave her son Emeka alone, saying, Chidera, I'm not calling you a gold digger, and I know that you may think that you truly love my son. But trust me, when I say that marrying someone from a different level, socially and economically than you are, never works. I do not want you to ruin my son's life. I'm not in any way calling you a gold digger, but please, take this check of 200 million naira and go very far away from my son. Start your life afresh. Do anything, do a business, start up anything. You would always find someone that you will fall in love and marry. Emeka does not need to know about this. This can be our little secret. Madam Ezine said, sounding desperate. Ah, Mama, I feel so insulted that you think that my love for your son can be bought with ordinary 200 million naira. I love Emeka very much, and I'll never betray him like that. I love him. I love Emeka, Chidera replied, crying. So despite all Madam Ezine's effort to stop her son from marrying Chidera, the daughter of her maid, Emeka still went ahead and married Chidera. They had a very lavish wedding ceremony. And although Emeka, Chidera and her mother, Auntie Anda, were so happy, Madam Ezine was very devastated. She knew that this marriage was not going to last, and that it was only a matter of time for the marriage to shatter. A few weeks later, Emeka and Chidera had settled into their new roles as husband and wife. They were so happy and very much in love. However, Emeka was very worried that his mother did not approve of his marriage. But he convinced himself that when his mother saw how happy he was and how successful their marriage was, she was going to come around eventually. A few years later, Emeka and Chidera's little family had grown to become a family of 4. They now had 2 beautiful sons and they were all very happy. They were living what seemed to be a perfect life. However, one day, Emeka decided that it was time for him to return to his state of origin, Abia State, as his best friend's father had just become a governor. Emeka had always aspired to hold a political position, so he thought that if he relocated to Abia State, now that his friend's father was the governor, it would be easier for him to fulfill his dream of one day becoming a governor in his state. So contrary to the advice and counsel of his mother, Emeka decided to resign from his well-paying job at the bank, despite the fact that he had already risen to the position of a bank manager. So Emeka packed up his life and family and relocated to Abia State. His best friend Ikuna was very happy to see him. Ikuna made him very comfortable in Abia State. Ikuna did not allow him rent a house, but rather gave him one of his father's mansion to live in with his family. Emeka and Chidera were living in one of the best places in the city. Ikuna ensured that his father gave his best friend Emeka a political appointment. So the governor made Emeka the commissioner of works. Emeka was so happy and grateful to his best friend Ikuna for putting in a good word for him. Emeka and Chidera were living like royalty in Abia State. Everywhere the governor went, Ikuna made sure that Emeka went as well. Emeka was meeting people, godfathers, who would be very instrumental to his political career whenever he chose to run for the office of the governor. Chidera, on the other hand, was very happy. She could not believe her luck that the daughter of a maid, a mere hairdresser, was not just married to just a banker anymore, but now a commissioner. Hmm. She now walked in and out of the government house like she was going to a mall. She now even had police escorts following her wherever she went, with everyone calling her ma this, ma that, and waiting on her for instructions on what to do. Chidera realized that this life of power was made for her. She did not just want to be just rich anymore, but now she wanted to be powerful. She was not even satisfied in just being the commissioner's wife. Now, she wanted to be the wife of the governor. She remembered how her mother-in-law had referred to her as the child of a maid. She wanted to expunge that record completely. Sometimes she had felt inferior anytime she hung out with her husband and his friends and their wives. She always felt like she did not belong at the table. But Chidera began to think out loud and say, if I become the governor's wife, I will not have to worry whether I'm qualified to sit at a table anymore. Rather, every other person will be worried whether they were qualified to sit at my table. So Chidera became desperate about her ambition of becoming a governor's wife. So one day, she spoke to her husband Emeka and said, babe, how long do you think it will take you to become a governor? You know your friend Ikunna's father only has about 3 years left for his second tenure to elapse. Do you think that you'll be able to run for governor after his tenure elapses? Chidera asked excitedly and anxiously. Ha, my wife, be calming down now. I just came into the political scene recently, and it doesn't work like that. It takes a little more time, and I'm still trying to make very strong alliances. I will need godfathers to support my ambition, financially and otherwise, for me to ever become a governor in this state. And my dear, it also takes time to strategize, Emeka responded. But I thought Ikuna's father will sponsor you now and stand behind you and put you forward as the next gubernatorial candidate. Chidera asked, pressing further. Hey, my beautiful wife, when did you start bothering your pretty head about all these political matters? I never knew you were so politically inclined though. Anyway, to answer your question, Ikunna also has an ambition to become the next governor. So it is common sense that his father will put him forward first. So if I were ever to become a governor in this state, it has to come after Ikunna finishes his 8 years tenure. Emeka replied. Unknown to Emeka, his response got Chidera very worried. Here she was, daydreaming about becoming a governor's wife, the first lady, and her husband was here being very complacent about becoming a governor and willing to wait for another 11 years, 3 years for Ikunna's father's tenure to elapse, and another 8 years for Ikunna to serve as governor. Chidera thought to herself that she did not have that kind of time to waste. So she knew that she had to come up with a plan B very quickly to achieve her ambition of becoming a governor's wife. So each time Ikunna came to the house to visit Emeka, Chidera would dress very provocatively. She would wear outfits that were revealing her curves and her assets, and she would gently touch him or brush his shoulders in such a subtle way so as to pass a message to him. She had done it a number of times, even in the presence of her husband, but her husband did not notice anything. But Ikunna had already started getting the signal Chidera was passing, and he decided to take advantage of it. So one day, Ikunna had sent Emeka to follow his father for a meeting outside the state for 3 days. Then he decided to visit Emeka's wife Chidera to follow up on the subtle hints that she had been giving him. Chidera, on the other hand, was very glad that Ikunna had gotten her message. So she lured Ikunna with her seductive ways, and they ended up on her matrimonial bed. Ikunna was very happy. Chidera was a beautiful woman and he was a single man. He knew that what he did was wrong, yes, but he justified it by telling himself that he was not the one that went after her. Rather, she was the one that threw herself at him. So this marked the beginning of Emeka's wife Chidera and his best friend Ikuna dating secretly. They began to meet in secret places and would even pass subtle glances at each other in the presence of Emeka, and Emeka would not know. He was too trusting. He did not suspect that his wife was cheating on him, not to talk of with his best friend Ikuna. Chidera, on the other hand, had started pursuing her ambition relentlessly. Each time she warmed Ikuna's bed, she would always say to him, "My love, please promise me that when you become governor that I will be your first lady." Chidera will ask desperately. And Ikuna will go ahead and promise Chidera saying, "Don't worry, you will be my first lady. You will be spoiled silly. Everyone will worship you and do as you say. You will be powerful. Even your mother-in-law will bow before your presence." Ikuna would always reply Chidera, and this made her very happy. She spent her time daydreaming of herself as a first lady. She started becoming distant from her husband and started becoming very proud and very assertive. She began to talk to her orderlies, her maids, her police escorts, anyhow. She would always shout at them and say, "Do you know who I am? Next time if I ask you to do something, you need to do it as though it was the first lady talking to you," Chidera would say proudly. Emeka had started noticing the changes in his wife, and he called her one day and said, "Chidera, is everything okay? I notice you have changed a bit. You're now very distant from me. And not just that, but you speak to people around you with an air of superiority. And this is not you. You're being very rude to everyone." Emeka said, "Please, what's the meaning of this? Should I be hugging and shaking peasants? Like, I should go and hug the maid or what? Please, I'm chosen for power. I don't know about you," Chidera said as she walked out angrily. So Chidera continued her secret relationship with Ikuna. One day, Emeka was very sick and could not go out to work. So he was lying on the bed. Meanwhile, Chidera was in the kitchen trying to make breakfast for him. When immediately his wife Chidera's phone rang. Emeka picked it up and was surprised to see the name on the caller read Mom. He looked again because just below that name Mom was a number that he knew by heart. He was very good with numbers and knew his best friend's number by heart. So Emeka was very surprised that the name read Mom while the number was that of his best friend. Emeka was a bit perplexed but decided to pick the call anyway. So he picked the call but did not say a word. And then he heard his best friend on the other end of the call, a man he literally trusted with his life, over the phone saying, "Hi babe, I've been missing you. I've been missing your warm touch. When are you coming over again?" Emeka could not believe his ears. He immediately cut the call and started going through his wife's phone. He went through her conversations with his best friend Ikuna. Emeka was shocked to see all the love messages and pictures that they had been exchanging between themselves. He was surprised to see how they all joked and made fun of him. Emeka was so heartbroken. Immediately, Chidera stepped into the room carrying her husband's breakfast, but was very shocked to see her husband Emeka going through her phone with tears streaming down his eyes. She immediately dropped the food and fell to her knees, pleading and crying with her husband. "It's not what you think, my love. Please, I can explain," Chidera said, crying. "Chidera, you dare betray me like this? And of all the people in the world to sleep with, it had to be my best friend, my own best friend, Ikuna. Chidera, despite how my mother refused us getting married, I fought for you. I fought for our love. I have been good to you. I have never cheated on you, not once. Yet this is how you choose to repay me? I should never have gotten married to you. I should have listened to my mother. You disgust me," Emeka said, screaming. Chidera kept on crying and begging. "It's the devil's handwork. Please, I'm sorry." Chidera said, crying. Devil, Ke. Did you just say devil? Did you think I did not read your chat where you were begging my best friend to promise you that he will make you first lady when he becomes a governor, and you foolishly believed him? Why am I even calling that backstabber, my friend? So because you don't see me becoming a governor in at least 11 years, I am now no longer good enough for you? Forgetting that I picked you up from the gutters. If not for me, you will still be in the trenches. Anyway, I will deal with you when I come back. For now, I need to go and meet that backstabber Ikuna that will sleep with my own wife. And so, Emeka walked out angrily and left the house. Chidera called Ikuna, crying and screaming, saying, I am finished. I am finished. My husband has found out about us. Hey, whoa, Chidera said, crying. I will handle it. Don't bother yourself, Ikuna replied. How will you handle it, Ikuna? Bikono, tell me, please, Chidera said, crying. I am sick and tired of that bastard anyway. I was the one that invited him over to this city. Yet he's making strong alliances very quickly. If I don't do something about it soonest, that bastard will snatch power away from me. I have been trying to get him off the political space, but now that he knows about us, then this would be a good time to get rid of him for good. Ikuna replied, oh, please just do what you must. Just do anything that you have to, please. Ikuna, help me. Chidera replied, crying. Meanwhile, Emeka was already on his way to go confront his friend Ikuna when he decided to call his mother. He narrated everything to his mother while crying and said, Mama, I should have listened to you. I'm so sorry. I don't know why my wife is so power drunken that she would sleep with my own friend, my best friend, simply because she thinks he will become a governor and make her first lady. Emeka said, crying, calm down, my son. Where are you now as we speak? Madam Ezine asked. I'm on my way to confront Ikuna. He must tell me why he betrayed me like that. Emeka replied. Ah, please do not do that, my son. Those people are powerful. Be careful. Or better still, please do not confront him. Just go back home. Madam Ezine pleaded. Mama, it's too late for that. As I speak to you, I'm already in his compound and I can already see him coming, Mama. Mama, I'll talk to you later. Emeka said and dropped his phone, but forgot to end the call. Emeka! Emeka! Madam Ezine shouted, but there was no response. But she kept the call open and placed the call on speaker to see if she would hear anything. She heard two men shouting but could not pick out their words. Meanwhile, Emeka was challenging Ikuna, saying, how could you do this to me? Ikuna, you're my best friend. You could literally get any woman in the whole world. Why did it have to be my wife? Emeka said angrily. Abegi, please, your wife literally threw herself at me. I was on my own and she started flirting with me. I assumed you were not doing your job properly, so I stepped in to help a friend. Ikuna said with a mischievous smile on his face. How dare you say that about my wife? I will kill you today, Emeka said, as he charged towards Ikuna. And then, Madam Ezine heard a gunshot. Emeka had been gunned down. She started screaming, Emeka, oh, Eminwam, hey, but there was no response. Meanwhile, Emeka's body had been placed in the car and he had been dropped by the side of the road far away from Ikuna's house. Ikuna's boys had, on Ikuna's order, staged his body as though armed robbers had killed him, and they took his phone and some valuables to make it look like a robbery. Madam Ezine, on the other hand, had already gotten to her son's house. She met Chidera weeping. She didn't even say a word to her. She just forcefully collected her two grandsons and left Abia State quickly. A few hours later, the news was everywhere that Emeka had been murdered. Madam Ezine broke down weeping and crying for her son. Emeka, oh, your wife has finished you. I warned you, Emeka. Madam Ezine said, crying. She knew the people responsible for her son's death, but she knew she could not fight them because they were in power. But she was sure that she was never going to allow Chidera lay her eyes on her grandchildren ever again. A few weeks later, Emeka had been buried. Chidera, on the other hand, was so happy. She felt that now that she was single, Ikuna would have no hesitation in marrying her. However, few weeks after the whole incident, Chidera began to get very worried. She had not heard anything from Ikuna. She had even tried reaching him over the phone, but it looked as though she had been blocked. She had also gone to his house, but the security guards wouldn't let her in. Ikuna had cut all ties with her. A few days later, Chidera was in her house when three men came to her home and pursued her out of the house, saying that Ikuna had ordered that she leaves the house immediately. Chidera began to cry and weep. She had lost everything. Ikuna's boys did not even allow her to live with anything aside the clothes she was putting on. Chidera was so sad. She had lost her husband that really loved her, and now she had lost her children, and now her so-called future of becoming the first lady. She realized that she threw away the gold that she had, which was her husband Emeka, for mere chaff, which was Ikuna. Chidera wished that she could turn back the hands of time, but it was too late. So she went back to live with her mother in poverty and penury. She cried and wept every time. Madam Ezine, on the other hand, continued to raise her two grandsons. She left Ikuna to the hands of God, knowing that no evil man will go unpunished. Hi besties! It's your favorite storyteller, Omalicha again. Thank you so much for watching my story to the end. So I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about marrying from a different class, like a poor person marrying a rich person? Does it always work out, or do you think they always end badly, just as in this case? Please share your opinion with me in the comment section. I would love to read all of them. And please support your homegirl Omalicha by subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, and sharing with your loved ones. So now till I come your way again with more interesting stories. Bye.